Another day, another dollar. It's O.T.G. O.T.G. Daily News. Supply to work. Paris family printing. I'm O.T.G. So here we sit, the day after they decide what they were going to do to the officers with Breonna Taylor. And like I told you guys in the previous video, nothing was going to happen. And I'm not surprised, the whole thing is fishy and sounds crazy, you know what I mean? What I think really was going on is you got dirty cops trying to rob somebody. That's how I feel about it personally, When you start to dig into the intricacies of the whole situation, you got her house. Police believe that her house was being used as a place to receive drugs by a gang. But the gang was located 10 miles away. They were still following her house because of her ex-boyfriend. She wasn't the main subject of the warrant. They were looking for her ex-boyfriend and coming to see if there was drugs there. When you talk about police coming in plain clothes with a no-knock warrant, essentially, imagine being laying in your bed with your girl and you hear something at the door, and you live in a city where the murder rate is high, and you have a legally registered firearm, and you hear somebody at the door in the middle of the night. You're going to be prepared to protect your family and do what you got to do. When you talk about what happened afterwards, they hit the door, a guy shot, they said they were the cops, and then one of the cops shot 10 rounds into the house. And as you start to look into it, you see all of these things reprimanded. The reprimanding the police officer, Mr. Hankinson is his name. They say that he showed an extreme indifference to the value of human life. They were alarmed and stunned that he used deadly force in that fashion. They feel like that impedes the department's goal of providing the citizens the best professional law enforcement that they can have. But then at the same time, when you think about what happened afterwards, you don't really see that same sentiment. Most of what they're saying is that he's going to lose his job. It just doesn't really make sense. Her boyfriend called 911 and thought that the house was being burglarized. The officers fired 25 bullets inside of the house. It's just an amazing thing, you know what I mean? They shot her 8 times and she died on the floor of her house. They arrested the boyfriend who called 911 and did everything he was supposed to do, and said that he had charges of attempted murder of a police officer. When he called, he swore his house was being robbed. They didn't find any drugs on the property. They were not looking for her or her current boyfriend. They were looking for somebody who did not live there anymore. They decided to ban no-knock warrants. And they still came up with what they came up with and charged them with what they charged them with. So once you have understanding of what's going on every day, this is going on all across America. This is happening in places where people aren't calling the police. This is happening to all kinds of people, not just black people. This is happening to white people. It's happening to Hispanic people. This is happening all the time. And, the fear-based thinking that this is just happening because Donald Trump is in office is inaccurate. This was happening when Obama was in office. This has been happening for years and years and years. And black people have been saying this all the way back to fuck the police, and you even had Flavor Flav saying 911 is a joke. Well, you think about that, And you think about being in 2020, and you think about what people are saying the resolution is. What is the resolution, O.T.G.? What can we do? Depending on Joe Biden to change anything about what's going on, it's just a fallacy and it's not really real. Joe Biden is the one who funded the police with the 1994 crime bill. When he did the 94 crime bill, by 1998, they hired 800,000 more police officers. In a 10-year time frame from them enacting the 1994 crime bill, you had over 1 million people in privatized prisons for charges that stem from petty marijuana charges to driving violations to all kinds of things. So the idea that you think any one of these guys are truly going to defund the police and do anything about the police, it's just not real. You know what I mean? The police system is a system that needs reform. Nobody wants to go without police. That makes no sense, because if you're truly worried about the murder rate and worried about violence in any neighborhoods, then with no police and people policing themselves, then what you're going to have is more people getting murdered. People aren't going to take people in their garages or their basements and hold them there for 8 months or 9 months and put them in house jail. People commit a crime to a person, they're going to commit a crime back to them. That is the fact of why we have police, and they are here to service the community. What really needs to happen needs to be complete reform. Reform of the laws, reform of practices that the police use, reform of hiring processes, just true reform. But even still, the thing nobody wants to talk about is you're not going to get good police officers until you pay people what they deserve. So in the same breath, that goes into people not wanting to pay the people who prepare your food more than $6 or $7 an hour. They work at McDonald's, they shouldn't get paid more. They're touching millions of people's food. And so if they pass a disease through somebody's food and you work with that person, guess who now is in danger of getting that disease and returning it back home to your family? So, the problem with America stems with, we have all of these ideas and all of these things that we think should work, but we truly don't have any true idea of how things work. When you're looking at the system, again, of policing, they got guys in there 23, 24 years old. Police are making $30,000 a year, $40,000 a year, and their job is to walk into any situation and have a cool head and know the best for that situation. That's pretty amazing to ask a 23 or a 24-year-old or anybody under 30. So once you get into that, you have to think that these people need extensive training, not 3 months, 6 months, and then thrown out in the field. Reform is what's needed. That's what's needed. We don't need to defund anything. As crime gets higher and people get and money gets lower, the government is getting greedier. They're playing sick games on the American people, watching people starve, watching people get kicked out of their house. They're taking people's kids and holding them up at the borders. It's all kinds of things going on. Sex trafficking is high. What we need is honest police. That's what's needed. Honest police who are trained with how to deal with the public. Doesn't matter if they're black, white, woman, yellow, gay, trans, whatever. They need to be trained properly and following the right rules that have been updated for the time frame that we live in. Until then, none of this is going to change. None of it's going to change. Right now, you're putting yourself at danger if you go outside and you protest and you're a black person. You have all these militia groups going out here carrying guns who are ready to kick something off and see some kind of violence because they can't wait to use their guns. You know, they bought these weapons. They look at them every day. They clean them every day. They're shooting in their backyard. They're shooting in the air. They can't wait to go out and actually use them in a real life scenario. So you got these militia groups out here running around. You have paid government people going out to cause conflict on the front lines. You have people who are scared and in their emotions outside with no plan, who just want to go outside and yell, scream, and get their frustrations off, which isn't a problem, but you also have to understand nobody's listening. So what is the plan? You know, you can have the plan to go outside and burn things down until people see you or until somebody hears you, but we've seen how that's been working. You can have the plan to go out and protest, and protesting is okay. You know, protesting does bring awareness, but right now when people are laid off, it has a lesser effect, because protesting used to have an effect. When people would take off of work, they would stop what they were doing to go protest, and then businesses were taking a hit. Right now, most of America's business is fucked up. Right now, we got a crazy election going on where neither one of these candidates are actually good for the people. We have an old policing system that needs complete reform. We have a bunch of old police officers who are from an older time where they still don't respect black people. They still don't really understand how to use social media. They really don't understand too much of anything, and they're not properly being trained. So what can we do? We can do for ourselves. That's what needs to start happening. People need to start valuing themselves and valuing their options every day, and being if you want to say, for lack of a better word, being a true American. Part of being a true American is, if the system doesn't work, then you revolt against the system. How do you revolt against the system? Well, the main thing that they expect from us is for us to run out and vote. If we all stop voting and we all don't participate, if we all start, let's not say all, if a major group of us don't vote, don't participate, and stick to our guns about our demands that we want for our votes, we might actually see a change. But until then, they paid that family off. One of the cops got injured. In their mind, it's collateral damage. They're more upset about, you know, people who are probably white neighbors who are sleeping or doing whatever, and bullets being shot into their home. The conviction that they gave was basically reckless endangerment with a firearm, which is a Class D felony, but if he's a first-time offender, he'll get off with unsupervised court probation and a small fine, probably $1,000, $1,200 or something. That doesn't bring back Breonna Taylor, you know. And every day I'm seeing people say they tired, they exhausted, they're this, they're that. You can't be tired and you can't be exhausted. Like, we're nowhere near what our parents went through. We don't have dogs being sick on us. We don't have water spraying us. We don't have certain things going on. What we have is the cops and singular incidents all across the world, all across the United States, who are scared to death, who are young, who don't really engage with anybody else other than their own kind of people, out here policing the roads. As soon as it goes left, especially with people being scared of the police right now, as soon as it goes left, they lose their shit because they're scared. So the only way to fix that fear is that we need to start cleansing out the old and bringing in the new. And as we bring in the new, they need to be trained properly. They need to understand and know the people that they're dealing with. You know, until then, nothing is going to change. And nothing is definitely going to change in the black community until black people start pulling their money together, pulling their resources together, and creating the change that you want to see. Trying to force yourself into a situation where people don't like you, don't want you, purposely misunderstand you, and abuse you is not the place that you want to be. And this is the problem why so many people are exhausted and are tired is because the whole time all they've been trying to do is play both sides, be politically correct so they don't offend white people, but then still trying to be hood and supportive so they don't offend black people. And what you have is a bunch of fake people wasting a bunch of time that's not adding up to do anything. We send prayers out to Breonna Taylor, her family, her mother, anybody that's related to her. We send good luck out to her boyfriend who was there, who probably feels like he could have done more, he should have did more. There's all kinds of things that he feels he probably could have dedicated more to the cause or in the moment, who has to live with that for the rest of his life, watching his girlfriend die on the floor after being shot 8 times by the police. Doing for self, valuing yourself, understanding what you bring to the game and what you have value in order to change the rules of the game so they work out fairly. All we have is paying our taxes and our vote. And you can't duck out paying taxes or else you'll definitely go to jail. So the only thing left is our vote. And we shouldn't be voting for none of these guys, because this is not the America we want to live in. This is not how we envision the space where we envision raising our kids, and it's the home of the free and the land of the brave. It's none of those things right now. But this is our home. And at the end of the day, we need to fix our home. We can't just let our home get tore to shreds and disrespected and treated foul for the whole world to see. Black people need to take responsibility and be accountable. In this Breonna Taylor situation, there was nothing they could do. But in other situations, there's a lot of things that we could do. There's a lot of ways that we can move. There's a lot of things that we could do to change the minds of the people who are dependent on us just to get themselves in a better financial place. There are a lot of things that we could do, and we should start doing them. The first thing we should do is do a full assessment of ourselves. Understand who you are and what you bring to the table. Once you have understanding of that, then you'll empower your children, you'll empower your woman. If she's on the same time, she'll self-reflect, she'll empower you. And what you have is the yin and yang of people working together towards a common goal. Right now, our voices are split. Right now, the most activism people are doing is online with typing. Right now, the most people can do is leave statuses up to say, oh, I'm so sorry. You're not sorry. You're not. If you was sorry, you would be upset. You would be angry. You would be coming up with ways to try to fix this system versus sitting back and thinking just casting a vote is going to change the system for you. That's not how it works. So, with that being said, we pray for Breonna Taylor's family. We pray for all the families who lost someone by the hands of police. We understand and knew that this was going to be the way that it went. We should also have understanding and know that it's time for black people to organize within themselves, start supporting each other, start saving our money, start buying land, start doing things for the long term that can really make a change versus just being in on the trend, saying anything at the moment. That young lady didn't have to die. A lot of these people didn't have to die. And we could keep trying again to kid ourselves and say that we could live in America with no police. That's not really the truth. We could kid ourselves and say that voting locally will change how the police treat people. That's not necessarily true. We've had all kinds of Democrats in office, Republicans in office, black people in office, and nothing can stop it. Why can't nothing stop it, O.T.G? Because it's meant to happen. We are meant to be where we are right now. We are meant to feel what we're feeling right now. We are meant to do more for ourselves and our family and that will inspire our family to do more for themselves, and this will create a snowball effect that we will eventually see some kind of change. Until then, we're just going to be typing and talking, raising our own PTSD. So with that, that's all I really want to say. It's O.T.G, O.T.G Daily News, Supply to Work, Pears Family Printing. Like, subscribe, comment, all of those good things. And just understand, what are we going to do? We're going to start doing for ourselves. We're going to start researching the best ways and the best things for our children. We're going to find a way to get those things for our children, so as they grow, we can mold them into being the change that we want to see in the world every day. But just going on social media, typing, running outside, trying to march with no plan, talking shit to people because they don't agree with you, all of these things are no-nos and not things that you should stand for, and they're definitely not things that we stand for over here. So get it together, make a plan, execute that plan, stay the course. It's O.T.G.